Erica, and I'm with Conductor. Most of you have heard this before, but Conductor exists to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and makers. And we do that through events like today, a workshop on marketing. But we also have this awesome building, the Arnold Innovation Center, which is a low-cost membership opportunity co-working space for business owners. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, Caitlin on our team manages the space, and any of us really are happy to give you details about that. If you guys are connected with us on social media, we'd love to have you guys interact, say that you're here today, listen to Mark. And I think that's enough of that. Let's get started. Thank you, Mark.
Erica. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark McNair, and I have over-tightened every screw, nut, and bolt throughout the entirety of my life. Just a little tidbit of information about me. I thought it was more interesting than admitting that I used to collect empty Tic Tac boxes as a child, but maybe not. Yeah, but now that we've got to know each other a little bit, and I've told you all of my deepest, darkest secrets, we're going to jump into the marketing funnel today. This is a very oversimplified look at small business marketing. And as an advertiser, I work with a company, Enterprise Digital, here out of this building. And as an advertiser, we think of the marketing funnel into three specific segments. We think of an initial top of funnel of impressions, and then we get interactions, and then we have conversions. So the way today is going to go is we're going to go through as much of this as possible. We have one or two bonus things that if we have time, we will get to. However, what I would love, on top of you guys interacting, asking questions, if I'm talking too fast, if there's a question you have, please throw something at me, please yell or something, absolutely allowed, because I tend to go through content very quickly. So we're going to jump into this, and the three main areas that we're going to focus on are the three main slices of this marketing funnel. I just have a pour over coffee funnel because I like pour over coffee, and so that's why we're using that as the illustration. And the reason for the specific language is because of our role in advertising, where impressions are really the eyeballs that you get and the people that say, okay, now I know that you exist. I see your logo. I see what you're doing. And then the second part of that is interaction, and the third part is conversion. So at the end of this, what I'd love to do is also interact with you guys. And if there are any brave souls that would like to offer up their small business to potentially go through some of the content that we've covered, then you will potentially have that opportunity. We'll probably have 10 to 15 minutes of being able to do that, and then also just answer other questions and whatnot. Does that sound good? Awesome. All right, let's look at the general overview real quick. However, we're first going to give a big disclaimer, and that disclaimer is data. The reason this is a disclaimer is that data is the only way that all of this works. If you don't have any data, then none of this is really going to work. I wish that we could talk a lot about data. However, we do not have time. That could be a whole separate workshop when we talk about data tracking, data analytics, cross-platform attribution of data. Basically, if you've ever sold anything or ever had a conversation with someone, that is data. We talk about word of mouth, impressions, interactions, all of that. Every touch point that a business has with someone is potential data. And so the big disclaimer here is that none of this works without good data. And I'll probably reference that several different times. So what we're going to jump into is this is kind of an overview, an oversimplified version of the marketing funnel. People call it all different kinds of things: the sales funnel, the marketing funnel, your top of funnel, your middle funnel, your bottom of funnel. It's essentially just the whole marketing process. And we're also looking through the lens of specifically small to medium-sized businesses. They can be digital businesses, they can be local service-based businesses. You could have a physical brick and mortar where people shop at. They're all going to be, all of these things will apply to all of those things. So we'll first talk about the top of funnel, impressions, how to get eyeballs. We'll cover word of mouth. I know it sounds boring. However, word of mouth is very important. We have basically operated for 7 years on word of mouth. And so it is very, very important to our business, even though it's one of those like general terms that I feel like it's talked about a lot. We're going to talk about hijacking an audience. This is for the small and medium-sized businesses that don't yet have your own audience. And then we're going to talk about advertising. These are all three sections of that first impression top of funnel. Then we're going to get into interaction, or how to get bites. So instead of once someone sees you, then how do they interact with you? Do they click on an ad? Do they go to your website? Do they fill out a form? Do they send you an email? Do they call you on the phone? That is this section, and the two main things that we need here to have effective small business marketing is to either have a really good offer or have really good advertising. And then third and lastly, we will talk about conversion, the conversion or bottom of funnel. And this is how to get people to swipe right with a credit card. And the really one key piece here is to have a killer website, killer brick and mortar shop, or a killer sales phone call experience. And then the second part will be looking at bottlenecks, how to find and fix bottlenecks when one of these are not working properly. So we'll cover that section, then we'll cover advertising methodologies. I'm an advertiser, advertising is a huge part of general marketing. And so we're going to look at the advertising methods and we're going to rank them worst to best for small businesses. Then we'll have a little bit of a bonus if we have time, and then we'll show a big example of all of this at play, which is a client of ours. We'll show a small example of a client of ours with all this at play. And then lastly, we will use your example for anyone that wants to potentially find and fix bottlenecks or have specific questions about different aspects of the funnel. Does this sound good? Does this resonate? Make sense? Awesome, let's do it. So first, how to get eyeballs. The first part of how to get eyeballs we'll talk about is word of mouth. And yes, every single one of my photo illustrations is from the trilogy The Godfather. There is absolutely no reason for this, but that's what we're going to do. So the first one is word of mouth. The two big things with word of mouth are to either talk about your business, so have an elevator pitch, know what to say about your business, know the details. If someone talks to you about shipping your product, know what that process is and be able to clearly communicate it via word of mouth. If you've ever sold anything, you already have word of mouth. It could be one person and one sale, you now have word of mouth. And the second part of word of mouth, so be able to know how to talk about your business. The second way we can succeed in word of mouth is to do something that is worth talking about. For everyone in here, does someone have at least one product that no matter what, you could go on and on about? You're like, oh my goodness, I love this pair of shoes, or I love this specific software, or whatever. It's like you have one product in your life that no, you're not a salesperson for them, but if you're hanging out with friends or meeting up with family, then you're saying, oh my goodness, you have to check this specific product out. Almost everyone has that. Mine is a software called Todoist. It is an incredible software. I've run my entire life on it, and it cost me $4 a month. And if Todoist quadrupled the cost of their software, I would have no problem paying it. Don't tell them that. However, it would be no problem for me at all. And so it's one of those things where, like, I'm not a salesman, I'm not an affiliate, I don't get a kickback if you go buy a Todoist Premium tomorrow. It's just one of those products where I'm like, it's so freaking good that I will talk about it. And so that is word of mouth. You have a small business, you have a product. Be so freaking good that people have to talk about it, even if that's a customer service aspect. I mean, I think of like, if you were on a call with someone about beef and you were like, you know what? I spent 3 hours solving a shipping issue because they weren't able to come pick it up locally here in Conway. And so that's like, I got you, let's figure this out. He spends 3 hours solving a shipping issue for someone. That person is going to talk about you. They're gonna be like, oh my goodness, this is the best beef in the world. They don't even have to go through the process of, I bought a pound of ground beef, just added a little bit of salt, best ground beef I've ever had in my life. They don't even have to go through that process. Just the fact that you did something as a small business that was worth talking about will get people talking. Second one is to hijack an audience. It's the only scene I can think of from The Godfather that had a lot of people in just the weddings. So hijack someone else's audience. My number one tip for this is get around AIC. Join the AIC if you have a small business. If you are not a member here, you should be a member here. You should be leveraging the ever-living crap out of this place because it is incredible. And so this is a great way that you can hijack an audience. If you run a podcast, you should be featured on someone else's podcast. I'll give you a very easy kind of ratio for this. If you have 1,000 followers or 1,000 monthly listeners, whatever, fill in the blank with whoever you are, 1,000 sales, 1,000 customers, then find someone that has 800 and offer to collaborate. So find someone that has 800, because the fact is you're actually adding a ton of value to them because your audience is bigger. So if you can collaborate with someone that has a smaller audience, what I would say is of their 800 followers, sales, whatever, there's a huge percentage of those that probably have never heard about you before. So you're actually dramatically increasing the exposure of your business by hijacking their audience, but you are hooking them up. because you're the one with, I mean, can you imagine someone with 100,000 Instagram followers and they're like, hey, can we do a shared shout out post? I know you have 80,000 Instagram followers. Let's do a post together. Easy yes. Like, well, who in the world's going to say no to that? Which also gets us into the next portion, and that is having a great offer. Oh, that's for this next section. This is actually the advertising section. So having a great offer is completely conjoined with advertising. And the third section of the first part of the funnel, which is impressions, how to get eyeballs, is to advertise. If you don't have an audience, if people are not talking about you, you can pay people to look at your stuff. You can buy YouTube ads, you can buy Google ads, you can buy a billboard if you absolutely wanted to, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. You can advertise to get these eyeballs to see what your business is doing. It's just an advertising or a newspaper clipping for The Godfather. So advertising is the third way that we can operate in that first part of the funnel. We'll go into a little bit more detail. I know we're moving quickly through all of this. So those three things: word of mouth, do something worth talking about, learn how to talk about your own business, interactions, or the second part of that is hijacking an audience for interactions, collaborate with people, find audiences that are smaller than yours and offer to add value. And most importantly, be in the AIC. You are all doing this right now. You are hijacking an audience. So congratulations. And then the third part is advertising, which is very general and very broad. We could do a whole other workshop just about that, but this is just general marketing funnel that we need to get through. And so second part of the funnel, there are two pieces. There's having really good offer or have really good advertising in order to get people to bite. So this is not just eyeballs. This is not, I've seen your business, and this is absolutely, I'm engaging with your business. And we do that by giving them an offer that they can't refuse. This is having something sober. This is solving someone's shipping problem where they're like, I can't find anyone else that raises, natural beef local to Arkansas that will figure out the shipping issue. And it's like, well, I'll do it. I'll figure out your, and it's something where they're like, okay, no one else is going to do this. That is an offer that I can't refuse. And so now all of a sudden you have that piece of this where, you know what, if you have a great offer, and here's what I would say for this. So take what you might think of as a decent offer, 10% off promo code, throw that in the trash. Then think of a good offer. Okay, so, well, our margins are like 40%, blah, blah, blah. How about 20% off? So 20% off promo code, that sounds like a good offer. Throw that in the trash. Come up with an offer that is so ridiculously good that they can't refuse. Something like, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, one of our clients works in a customizable e-commerce product business, and they do these handmade customized products that have 10 different options that you can choose from. So not like, I want red, it's like, okay, that's your color. Now, what are the other 9 things you want on this product? Highly customizable. In this industry, no one offers shipping the delivery of that product in under maybe 2 weeks in this specific industry. No one does it because it's absurd. It's like, look, we have to, the order has to come in, we have to have the person build it, we have to do this, we have to ship it, and then that, depending on pricing for shipping, it could get lost in the mail. We have to send it in these flat rate boxes, which means it takes an extra couple of days, it's more expensive. And so they decided, we're going to do it in 3 days. So they said, we're going to take your order, process it, build your custom order with all 10 options plugged into it. We're going to overnight ship it in a padded envelope, and it will be on your doorstep within 72 hours of clicking buy now. No one was doing that. It was an offer that no one else had, and this is what allowed them to 10x their business in 4-ish years. Second part of this is to have really good advertising. So not just have advertising. You can get eyeballs all day. And we talk to our clients all the time, like, if you want eyeballs, we can do it. We've had one client in 7 years that told us, I just want eyeballs. I want people to go to my website and that's it. And we said, well, we can do that. It's not difficult. What's difficult is having great advertising. And the key difference here is the difference between, in my opinion, the difference between good advertising and great advertising is having an advertiser that will look at the full funnel. Because most advertisers are like, okay, what do you want to say? All right, I'll put that in here. I'll build the ad, I'll build the back end, and I'll serve the ad to whatever. I'll put it up on a billboard, whatever. A great advertiser will say, okay, well, who's your target audience? Okay, so let's research and figure out who your target audience is. And then let's figure out everyone that is not going to buy your product. And we won't even show your ad to those people because we're not even going to, there's no way we're going to sell a product to them. They're never going to buy your product. So we just saved you a ton of money and we haven't even built an ad yet. Now let's build the ad, and you build a great ad. There's a lot of stuff that goes with that we won't get into. But then a great advertiser, their job's still not over. Then they say, okay, now what about your website? Is it optimized? What's your conversion rate? How are you going to answer the phone when this client calls, when I send you this lead? A great advertiser is going to be able to look at the full scope of your funnel and be able to help you do that. So if you want to crush this interaction part of your funnel, then have great advertising. Third one, how to get people to swipe right with a credit card. This is just conversions, sales, whatever you want to call it. We call it growth at our company. To get this part right, you need one thing and one thing only, and that is a golden sales process. See what I did there? Use the golden phone. I think this is Godfather Part 2. It's been forever since I've seen these movies. Golden sales process. This means your website needs to be incredible. Your calls to action, your buttons, they need to pop. You need to make it very easy for them to purchase your product. Very low barriers to entry. If you're doing lead generation, let's say that you're like in a service-based business, if you ask for someone's first name, last name, middle name, email, phone number, social security number, guess what? They're not going to fill out your form and you will not make that sale because you are asking way too much and there's way too many hoops to jump through in order to make that sale. And so this really should be the easiest part of the funnel. This should be where if you're taking phone calls, like if you do orders by the phone, you should know what your average conversion rate is. Go look at the last 100 phone calls you made and then come up with the percentage. How many times did I actually sell a product? And what if you find out, oh, I sell a product every 4 phone calls on average. So out of 100 calls, I made 25 sales. You have a 25% conversion rate. Now you have a mathematical component that you can attach to every other part of the funnel. You can know how much your advertising costs. You can know exactly how many conversations, how many followers you have, and then say, okay, as long as I can get them on the phone, I can sell 1 in 4. It is, I'm telling you, and this, again, I'm kind of already scooting over into the data side. Data is really, really important. All right, so let's talk about bottlenecks. So where does this go wrong? Where do the 3 parts of this funnel go dramatically wrong? The first one is the impression funnel. So top of funnel, where you're getting eyeballs, there could be just a search volume issue. There might not be as many people that need/want your product as you think. We have conversations with people all the time. They're like, oh my goodness, we've got this great product. It's incredible. We've got a great sales team. We've got great customer service. And then we go and look it up. And there are 50 average Google searches per month across the entire country for their specific product. And we're like, you do not have a business. Like no one wants the product that you're selling. We have told clients, no, we're sorry, we're not able to work with you and add value to you and take your money because there's no one out there that's looking for your product. Now, there's a lot of creative ways around this. There's lots of things like, no, I know that if I could educate you, okay, now we're talking about something different. Do you have an advertising budget to educate a specific audience about why they need your product so that you can sell it to them? And that's a totally different ballgame. So low search volume, low audience. Again, if you don't have any audience, how do you fix this? You hijack an audience. You find a way to get in front of someone else's audience. But if you have low audience, then it's going to be really hard to feed this funnel of eyeballs and impressions, that top of the funnel. It would be very difficult to do that with a low audience. And then for advertising purposes, it would be low budget. I'm sorry, if you want to only spend $250 a month on Facebook ads and expect to make $1 million in gross revenue, it is probably not going to happen. Because if you have a low budget, and again, I'm starting to scoot over to the data side, what budget gets you in advertising is it gets you data and it gets you good decisions. So if you blast out an ad and you only spend $250, well, if that's 3 phone calls, there's no way to get an accurate conversion rate from that number. It's just too small. There's not enough data points that can actually give you good information. And so if you have a budget though, and you've got tons of phone calls related, you've got tons of ads that are going out, then you absolutely have all the data in the world to make those decisions. We're going to move quickly through here. Interaction. For the interaction portion, it's just a bad call to action, a bad offer. You know, if you're like, hey, buy it from me, shop now, whatever, like just something that's super bland and boring, that can hurt you in the middle of the funnel because people won't want to engage with your vision, mission, business. What we do is we typically look for calls to action that are timely. They're being shown to the right person at the right time. We attempt to get offers that, again, they're just awesome. They're offers that people can't refuse. But we also use other tactics like evoking emotion and having something. Here it us to train, guys. This is every day of our lives working in this building. All right, so the other thing that you can do with this offer portion is when you have a great offer, you also want to make sure that it is very clear what they could do to take the next step. So for instance, if you have an e-commerce store and you've got multiple different products on multiple different pages, and what you really want to do is drive your digital courses, but you have, shop tools as your main call to action on your main page, people don't know what that is. And inherently, tools is separate from courses anyway, just as an idea. And so that's difficult. You're not going to be able to help people with a bad offer or a bad call to action to be able to get to that bottom of the funnel. The middle of the funnel is really about just, hey, let's move you along. You know who we are. You've seen us. There's an awesome offer. Let's go ahead and get you on the phone. Let's get you to fill out a form. Let's get you to get a free inspection or something like that for your service-based business. And then no validation. So how this plays out is if you've ever heard the phrase brag bar, if you have a website or if you have a social media, you need to be in a healthy and ethical way bragging about the cool things that you do. You need to have logos of businesses that you've worked with. You need to have 5-star reviews of your most awesome customers. You need to have testimonials of how your product or service changed someone's life. It is crucial. If you do not have this validation piece, then you will not be able to stand out. And it's also one of those things that you have full autonomy to say, I'm going to let someone else talk about how awesome my business is. If you can nail this, I'm telling you guys, the word of mouth part of the game just goes on an exponential curve. The greatest thing we've ever heard from a client, her name's Danielle, is she told us one time, we will turn the lights off before we stop the ads. And we were like, oh my goodness, like, thank you, that is so meaningful. And that is what validation looks like. If I had said that about my own product, you'd be like, this jerk, how dare you? But she says it about my product, and all of a sudden it's the most incredible, like we're like, where can we put that? Where's our social media? Where's our website? Like we said, Danielle said this about us, like 5-star review. Like that needs to go everywhere because that is validation for your product, validation for your offering. And the last bottleneck for the middle of the funnel is your ad stock. If your ad stock, then good luck. Did not mean to make that right. If your ads are awful, then it's going to be very difficult to gain any sort of traction because people can see you and they can see what your offer is and then never even truly get to experience. They're never on the phone with someone. They're never on your website. They don't get to who you are because they were blocked by a lame ad. And so if your ads stink, then it's going to be difficult. And then lastly, on the conversion portion, if you have a terrible product, there's not really a way around that. If you've ever sold anything, your product's probably not terrible. So just you being here probably means you have a decent product. However, this is one of those things, if you listen to people who are like at the top of their game, people like Mr. Beast or people that are at the top of the marketing world or Elon Musk or whoever else, essentially what they keep on preaching is you just got to have the most awesome product that everyone loves. If you have an experience, if you make a YouTube video that everyone, like they can't help, it's like, wait a minute. And I remember this, the first Mr. Beast video that ever I found out about Mr. Beast was I saw a thumbnail and it was a guy holding a pizza box and it said, I ordered a pizza and tipped the pizza delivery guy a house. And I was like, that's not real. There's no way that is real. I clicked on, I was like, it's real? Like they absolutely gave this dude a house and fully furnished it as well in one day. Crazy. He ordered a pizza from Domino's. Anyway, so you get what I'm saying. Like that, there's no way people don't click on that. There's no way people don't engage with your business. And so when you deliver, because this is the part where you better have something here. Because you can have some flashy and pretty ads and you can put out billboards and you can build YouTube videos and things like that. And if they get to your product and your product stinks, I remember one time I thought I was getting a really good deal on a Roomba. So I bought a $40 Roomba off of a Facebook ad. Yeah, it was just a piece of plastic that didn't even turn on that was shipped from China and it was 6 inches wide. So, and they got me. It was like, well, okay, I guess I'm out $40. But I was like, dude, like a $400 vacuum. This is a great deal. And it's like, well, as soon as I actually got the product, they got me. They had a good ad. They had like this is awesome, blah, blah, blah. But how many times did I go back and buy another product from them? Definitely zero. Definitely zero. In fact, I called my credit card company and said, this is fraud. And I would like you to reverse this transaction. So second one is terrible website. If you have a terrible website, then it's going to be very difficult. People want to be able to have an easy checkout flow, easy process. If you're in e-commerce, I will save you the time, effort, and energy of attempting to bootstrap this, which I have attempted to do. Just get Shopify. Shopify, $29 a month is 100% worth not having to ever worry about your checkout process. The most important piece with credit card information and data from individual people, that is the piece where you want it to be super easy, super fast, and super safe. And so e-commerce, Shopify, and we won't go into all the other definitions. However, if you guys want to talk about, checkout flow and whatnot, then we can totally do that on another time. And then we already talked about this with form fills, too many hoops to jump through. If you have a bajillion different things in your form fill, if you have 20 different pages that someone has to go through on their website before they actually buy the product, you're not keeping the main thing the main thing. One of the best filters we ever give to people, that this is for website, for sales flow, for all that. It sounds simple, and I'm telling you, it just works. We ask this question over and over and over again. What is the one thing you want your customer to do, or your prospect, your potential, whatever, your lead generation? What is the one thing you want them to do? And typically, businesses that have a good idea, they have some data. They're like, hey, we sell at 35% on the phone. If we take 100 calls, we're making 35 sales. You're like, great. So what is one thing you want them to do? We want them to call us. Well, then we go to their website. We say, okay, does this website completely embody that? Well, no, we've got 10 pages they can click on here. We've got a checkout button here. We've got a search function here. We've got a home button connected to our logo. Then we have sign up for our newsletter. Then we have a pop-up if they try to leave our website that says 5% off if you buy this specific product. And there's no button that says call now. Well, what's the one thing you want them to do? Well, we want them to call now. Okay, trash everything else. And if something's there, make sure it's connected to getting more people to call now. Does that make sense? Awesome. So that's the one. And I know it's like, oh, this is so boring and simple. I'm telling you, like, we sat down with $1 million companies and said, what's the one thing you want people to do on your website? Oh, we want them to buy our product. You're like, okay, great. Here's the 18 things on your website that disagree with that. And it happens all the time. You would probably be shocked. All right. So those are the bottlenecks. Now let's talk about advertising ranked by Star Wars movies that were released after 1999. We will not be talking about it. The 4, 5, 4, 6. We are only talking about the latest 6 Star Wars movies and ranking all of our forms of advertising according to them. Coming in last place, episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. We are not going to argue about this today. Billboards. I will spend as little time on this soapbox as possible. I hate billboards. All right, moving on. Print media, logos on. No, I'm serious. Like, I just really think about it. How do you even know they're working? Oh, we could do like, well, did you see our billboard when you were driving down I-40? And let me write that down on my piece of paper instead of my, computer. And then also, do you really think, like, what are you going to put a QR? I'm sorry if anyone works for Lamar or something and you're in here. Are you going to put a QR code on your billboard that as someone drives down the road at 80 miles an hour, they're going to, oh, I got my phone and scan that sucker? Like, I just don't get it. It's ridiculous. If you have ever thought, maybe I should buy a billboard for XYZ, come talk to me. I will tell you how to do that on YouTube and get 1,000% better results, and also probably 1/100th of the cost. So billboards absolutely suck. Print media and local spot. Now, another disclaimer about the rest of these. Billboards are always bad. The rest of these, all 5 of these, none of them are really bad. And in fact, with data, with proper data, you go to Axiom, you pay $100,000 a year to have them get every single piece of information so that you can send print mailers. You can make a lot of money doing that because they have a ton of data and their data is awesome. So if you can do that, a lot of these actually do work. So I'm not really hating on the rest of these, only billboards. Print media, local spots, episode 8, The Last Jedi. This is just not a good idea. There are so many better ways that you can get in front of people than going to a local movie theater and saying, can I show for 30 seconds before the previews even start to maybe be seen by 12 people? And then after 17 movies later and I've spent $3,500, maybe I'll get one phone call. Does not make sense to me at all. All right, affiliate and influencer marketing. This one actually can be really solid. The reason it's this low on the list is because we're specifically talking about small and medium-sized businesses. We have one company that their last year they broke $1 million in 1 year. This year, they're just now starting the conversation of affiliate and influencer marketing. So this is something that can work really, really well. There are some creative ways that you can do it if you are a small business. We just see this as way further in the cycle. There are so many better things to focus on before then. which is why it's a movie that I don't hate. Phantom Menace. Watched this as a kid, and I was like, why do people hate this movie? This is actually pretty solid. Rewatched it as an adult, and I was like, all right, like it's not that great. But anyway, so affiliated influencer marketing, and then meta ads or non-Google display ads. Again, this totally can work. The reason that this is not higher, and now we're into actually the decent ones. The reason this isn't higher is I hate Facebook. I don't even have a Facebook. I'm sorry. It's again, Facebook employees. I don't think anyone here is a Facebook employee. I just hate Facebook. I've done meta ads. We've done it as an agency, and it's just maybe I'm just bad at it. But as of last year, we were like, we're just not going to do this anymore. And so we don't. Our last Facebook ads contract ended earlier this year, and I couldn't be happier. And then the other one, non-Google display ads. So this is when you're playing Candy Crush, and an ad pops up for Jolly Rancher Crush, download now. That's the non-display or non-Google display ads, and it's just not great. And I think that, you know, we're all thinking like, oh yeah, those are kind of like I'm not usually the person who's wanting to be like, yes, I want to download that thing and get a virus on my phone. So meta ads, non-Google display ads. This is The Force Awakens. I actually don't hate The Force Awakens. The fact that these two exist automatically makes The Force Awakens worse. And so anyway, not going to get into that. Email marketing and remarketing. This is actually one of the most powerful ones. It's awesome. It's great. 2005, Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. Great movie. They have awesome marketing for it as well. It's also Hayden Christensen with Out of Rat Tail. So, you know, kudos. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, email marketing and remarketing. This is again one of those ones that's a little further down the path, but it is crazy important. And when we get to the bonus, you'll see why. And it's because of consumer lifetime value. So this is the whole idea of get people's data, have good data, good information. Once you have that information, your ability to upsell, cross-sell, refer sell, affiliate sell, all of your customers that love you is awesome. And if you ever want to do that at a really big scale, even though email marketing is not something that we technically do, we know a guy in Florida who can absolutely crush it and make you $1 million. All right, Google and YouTube ads, episode number 2, Attacking the Clones. These are the best ways to advertise, which is why that's all we do as an agency. We do Google and YouTube ads. After we've done a lot of different things over the last 7 years, however, we finally realized this is what we're best at, and this is what's getting the best results for small and medium-sized businesses. That is now all we do. We do a little bit of other stuff, but that is technically, you know, our bread and butter as an agency as far as what we advertise for. And this is broken down into 2 segments. YouTube ads is interruptive. Google is solutions-based. So if I were to split like just right in the middle, a big wide chasm of different forms of advertising, one is solutions-based advertising. If you type in 1977 Ford F-150 with less than 100,000 miles in the price range between $12,000 and $17,000, how high intent is that ad? Like that person who types in that into Google probably are pretty motivated to buy a 1977 Ford F-150 that is less than 100,000 miles and is going to cost somewhere between $12,000 and $17,000. So if you were a person who sold 1977, I'm not going to finish it, then you would want that person to see your ad. And in fact, that person wants to see your ad, and they want to go to your website, and they want to purchase this product. You're not sleazy. You're not a snake oil salesman. You're actually connecting a customer that wants something to exactly what you have. And that is Google Ads in a nutshell. It is solutions-based advertising. I'm providing a solution for you that you want. I'm not trying to trick you. Like I'm going to take what you're looking for, and just in case we're new or Google's SEO algorithm is like jacking up our website and we're just not going to be shown, then I'm going to do a priority placement, pay for a pay-per-click ad, and boom, there you go. I got your product for you right here. Order now, fast, 3-day shipping. So whatever, get your headlines in there. So that's why we think that is so powerful. So that's this side, that's solution-based advertising. The other side is basically everything else, and I call it interruptive advertising. Commercials while you're watching Hulu, and you're like, why do I pay for this and still watch commercials? Whatever. You're watching commercials, you are watching YouTube, and a video pops up, and you hit skip, and you're just waiting like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, skip. All right. Those types of ads, those are interruptive advertising. They can still work. We don't typically view these types of ads as let's drive as much, sales and conversions and phone calls and form fills as we possibly can. We view more of this as educational and exposure based. If you're brand new to the game, you're like, man, maybe I should get a billboard. I've got $500 a month that I can spend on advertising. I have a low budget. No one knows that I'm here. Throw out YouTube ads. Use that $500 a month. You will be able to get the entirety of Faulkner County to see exactly who you are, and, in a 5-second hook, and then they skip. You can have pretty much everyone in the entire county know that you exist within 6 months with, maybe not $500 a month, maybe like $1,000 a month. It's absurd. We're talking like saying, oh, I want to show only to people that are in the top 30% of income earners. I only want to show to males, and I only want to show to the ones that are between the ages of 25 and 45, and I only want to show on Tuesdays. Okay, you can do all of that and still get maybe like 3 to 5 cents a view. So you're paying like 3 pennies for someone to see your ad with all of those demographics. Or you can pay $400 a week to put a billboard up on I-40. So it's up to you. All right, let's move on. Again, I'm not talking about episode 4, 5, and 6 in Star Wars. Customer lifetime value. This is the little bonus piece, just checking on time. Customer lifetime value is huge. This is kind of the big moment when you shift from a small business to a medium-sized business. Where when you're a small business, you're like, look, I barely have an advertising budget. I need every dollar I put into advertising to get me more than $1 out. Whenever you have the rails to run on for remarketing, email marketing, upselling, cross-selling, affiliate marketing, all of those functions and pieces of your business, referrals, more word of mouth, maybe your audience is getting larger, your follower count, all of those things are growing. That is when you start to realize customer lifetime value is way more important. Biggest example of this is a manufacturing facility out of Virginia that we work with, and they're very B2B. And so when we advertise with them, they will actually lose money to make a sale, because usually the first sale that they do with a company is a company that says, I want to try 3 testers of your products. So here's $45, and I want you to send me these 3 products. And I'm gonna look at them and see if they're any good. And then they find out, wow, these are really good. And then they order $850 worth of products every single month for the next 5 years. So if it costs $200 to get that sale, who cares? You're making $850 for the next 5 years to get it. I know you know this, this is a subscription model. Come on. Like, this is how you do that, because that customer lifetime value. And what's really nuts about this, I checked this last week. The 2 largest gross, and this is just straight numbers, the 2 largest grossing revenue companies that we've worked for are 2 of the smallest agencies that we operate under. So our contracts with them, if you will, they're the smallest contracts that we have for the whole company. But they've been with us for 7 years. And they've paid us every single month. And we've consistently added value to them month after month, year after year. And there is not now, hopefully we have some of the bigger guys that will surpass them one day. That'll be great. For now, though, literally in 7 years of business, the most valuable customers were the first 2 through the door. Customer lifetime value is massive. Again, that's a whole other thing we talk about. All right, sticking points, feed the funnel, top of the funnel, just get eyeballs, talk about your business, word of mouth, it's awesome. Great offer, advertising, or both. Don't suck at sales. Find and fix bottlenecks. Choose the right advertising. Do not choose Star Wars episodes 8 and 9 versions of advertising. And then customer lifetime value and remarketing. Let's take a minute here, clarifying questions, thoughts, reactions on this page, and then we'll talk about a couple of examples. Anybody? Bueller? Cool. All right, going on to, actually, it's first, stuff I like. This is if you want to learn about this later. If you want to start your own agency and come coach our clients, you're more than welcome to do so. The 3 things that I would say to do that best, and I'm being very serious here, I'm not sending you down a rabbit trail. The 3 that we like the most are Aaron Young. He has spent over 15,000 hours mastering Google Ads. He's out of Australia. He's incredible. We were a part of his mastermind group for a couple of months. And he's awesome, and he has a cool accent. And then someone who has just as cool, if not a better accent, is Benjamin from Loves Data and Loves Data, talking about Google Analytics, Tag Manager, and Google Ads, all of the backend stuff. If you're like, oh my goodness, how in the world do I install a snippet of code onto the header of my website? This is your guy. He will show you how to do it step by step. And then thirdly, and most importantly, is ChatGPT. We are not going to do a whole thing about ChatGPT, which we totally could do it. I can show you some awesome things that would make you 10 times more productive in your companies. We will have to do that on another day. And I know that Jacob already did a fun, not scary AI workshop about this as well. just use ChatGPT. It's incredible. You can do so much more. And honestly, I mean, we use it all the time now. And it's true. I don't like saying this, but it's truly one of those things like that. If you don't adopt, you will be left behind. All right. So big example. We'll talk about, we are right on time. Big example. We're going to talk about a couple of bottlenecks. This is one of our largest e-commerce clients. And here we have 2 monthly analytics reports. One is from November of 2022. Well, this is just a piece of report. And then one is from May of 2023. And here's what happens. This is our total ad cost. This is how many clicks, how many people went to our website. This is the amount of sales or the number of sales. And that's the total revenue that we made for their business. This is also just Google and YouTube ads. This is not, they're all over the place. They've got ads on about every platform. This is just Google and YouTube ads. November of 2022, we spent less than $12,000 in ads and made $82,000 in revenue. And we were like, we're geniuses. Like we're so good at our jobs, guys. Because that is almost a 7-to-1 or a 7-to-1 ROI or return on ad spend, a 700% return on ad spend, which is absolutely wild. It's like, let's do that every month and then we'll be bajillionaires. And so we thought we were awesome for this. However, let's compare it to May of 2023. So we're like, guys, spend more money, put more ads out there. We got to feed the funnel. And then we spent almost $20,000 and we made less money. We made $56,000. Now, this is still great. And this is definitely cherry picked. Not everyone has stuff like this. So we spent more money, but we made less revenue. So how do we apply what we just learned to this scenario? We go back to our bottlenecks. Where are the bottlenecks? The 2 biggest bottlenecks for this one are impressions. So we're in the top of the funnel. And what happened was, and there's a lot more data behind this of knowing this. Again, data, super important. What happened was there was a lot more competitors that came to this marketplace, which means the pie of available searches and buyers got smaller. So if you add 10 competitors to a marketplace that only has 5 competitors, well, now just by nature, those 5 competitors are going to have to work 3 times as hard or twice as hard to be seen for these ads. And so that's exactly what happened to us. We had to increase our cost almost 70%, but we only increased our traffic 49%. And this, God bless you, this is simply a macroeconomic shift. So this is something that's not really in our control, but something that is in our control is our offer. And for those of you that have already figured this out, November 2022 is Black Friday. Black Friday was massive for this e-commerce store, and they leveraged the crap out of Black Friday. They had promotions, they had every single social media was screaming, we're going to be the best deals and like all this stuff. And they absolutely killed it because they had an offer that people couldn't refuse. Well, May is super boring and it's not Black Friday. And so we didn't have that offer. And so you can clearly see these 2 bottlenecks is what hurt us, if you will, even though this is still fine. So does this make sense? Like being able to still, and again, there's way more stuff behind this. What I'm wanting to do though is show how you can take these repetitions and say, all right, I need eyeballs, I need interactions, and I need sales. When one of those is not happening, then dig in and say, okay, why? Why is this not happening? What's the one thing we want people to do? Are we adding enough value? Is our product awesome? Is our sales funnel clean? And you will start to see this stuff will just start to pop out at you. All right, little example. So this is same industry, but this is a guy who builds customized products out of his garage, right? We started with him January, February-ish. And in March, oh my goodness, we spent $750 and we made less than $1,000. That's not good. At that amount, plus our management fees, plus the cost of his actual materials and whatnot, he's literally losing money. So, and we just started and, you know, it takes time to build all this stuff out. But what we did is we said, okay, what's the bottleneck here? Because this is not good. And so we were like, well, he's losing money. How do we fix this? And so what we did is we first looked at the top of the funnel. Our targeting's on point. Our ads are being shown to the right people. We did the keyword research properly. We have a consumer profile, and we know exactly who we're going after. That looks good. Let's look at the ads. Let's look at middle of funnel. Middle of funnel, the ads look awesome. The CTR is high. The click-through rate. The offer is solid. Man, everything is optimal here. Like this all looks good. So top of funnel, check. Middle of funnel, check. Website. What about when they actually get to the website? What's that experience like? And spoiler alert, it was hot trash. It was awful. It was one of the worst websites. Now, we saw his website, we're like, it's fine, but like, no, it was really, really, really bad. Every button was like a charcoal gray, and he had like he literally had products that didn't have descriptions. It'd be like, here's a blurry photo of a product. We're not gonna tell you anything about the product. Want to buy it? Like, that's what it felt like. It was terrible. And so he was converting at 0.5%, which means if you send 100 people to his website, half of one person was buying something. It was really bad. Now, the difference between like a 5% conversion rate and a 2% conversion rate is crazy. It's like, that doesn't sound like much. It's insane. It's quadruple, which is exactly what happened after we came to him and said, you need to fix these 20 things on your website so that you can increase your conversion rate. Now, as an awesome small business bootstrapper that he is, and I know that a lot of you guys are, he knocked that crap out in like 3 days. He was like, all right, I just fixed like all this out. He's like, you said to make this button yellow instead of having charcoal gray with an outline on it. You said to change the name of this to this. You said to add a product description on this specific page. I did all of it. And so he did that. And within 60 days, he quadrupled his conversion rate to 2%. And now he's making, at this one specific month, May of 2023, he made around a 5-to-1 return on investment. 500% return on ad spend. Incredible. So this is a small example. It can absolutely work. Totally industry dependent, market dependent. However, this totally can work. So lastly is Q&A. We have 12 minutes remaining before 1 o'clock, and we will end right at 1 o'clock. However, I want to answer questions. You can even just like yell and be like, none of that makes sense, and it's not going to hurt my feelings. However, I would love to answer questions. And if someone's like, okay, here's my business, can we talk about it? Absolutely, let's talk about it. Let's look, I'll ask you questions, and some of them might be very specific, like, what's your conversion rate over the last 90 days on your website? Or if you're a local service-based business, great. Do you have an idea of whenever you take a phone call, about how many calls does it take to actually land as a client? And so those types of questions I'll probably bump back to you, because that's what we do with our clients all the time. However, I would love to hear from you guys as far as, hey, here's my business, this is what I'm thinking, what are your recommendations for minimum ad budget spend, whatever. I want to hear from you. Yes.
Okay, so one of your highest ones was email marketing and remarketing, which I find to not be great for me at all. And so I'm curious, because I don't send like weekly, like a weekly email.
Okay.
So I'd just be curious of what your thoughts are of what could be some bottlenecks with that. It's just like
Yes.
I'm not always hitting them with emails, and so maybe I need to do a week. What's your recommendation on?
So there's a lot of
often
different
market?
levers to pull, and it's, I hate feeling it depends, but like it does depend. There's lots of different levers to pull. So specifically, one of the things you need to think of is, what is the cost of your product? So if your product is less than $20 a month, for instance, you're less than $20 a month, that's different than I sell a $10,000 digital course that I can replicate and duplicate as many times as I want and not have any repercussions. That's one of those big things to realize, okay, that makes a big difference. The guy I was talking about in Florida, he sells $10,000 courses on his email drip campaigns. So he can actually afford to make a really low conversion rate and still get great content out and still make, just bukus of sales. So there's a lot of different levers to pull with this. One, you already mentioned frequency. It really depends on how often you can give awesome value in that email. I have maybe 2 emails that are actual newsletters that I keep in my main inboxes. I feel like I'm such a hypocrite. Guys, I'm an advertiser and I use AdBlock, okay? So trust me when I say like there's a level of hypocrisy that's absolutely happening here. So I have like 2 newsletters that I allow, one of them's Ed, and it's in one of my emails for sure. And I allow 2 because one, I want to know when the beef is ready. I want to know when I can, buy a quarter or whatever. And then the other one is a marketing email. And it is all value. It takes like 3 minutes to read. It's always awesome. I've built landing pages and totally ripped the dude's stuff off. Been like, I'm going to make a landing page that looks like his emails, and our landing pages are going to convert better. It's awesome. There's tons of value in it. He maybe emails twice a month. And so what I would say is that if you have, a product that is not a ton of cost, where you're expecting like this is constantly growing my my bottom line every single week, you might switch to 1 a month. But if that one email provides a tremendous amount of value and you can train your newsletter audience to expect a tremendous amount of value, your open rates will go up, which means the Gmail algorithm will shine down on you and you will have more people that don't get sent to spam and those types of things. Your open rates increase, your click-throughs increase, your shareability increases. It really does come down to you have to make that absolutely awesome. Now, the good news is that you can figure out ways to do that creatively once a month, that the guy who sells the $10,000 course, he can't do that. He's got to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars acquiring a very specific audience and then being extremely specific on how he's doing his open rates and sends and value and stuff like that. And this was also not something that I would consider myself the biggest expert in, but basically there's all these levers to be like, am I adding enough value? That's a lever you can push. How long does it take to read my email? That's a lever you can push. I personally believe that emails should not be flashy. YouTube, when you have 5 seconds to grab someone's attention and then they are gone, that's when you got to be flashy. But an email that drops into someone's email inbox on a Saturday morning, they don't even look at it for 2 days, and then they just click on it just so that they don't have the white bar saying that it's unread, then or blue bar if you don't use dark mode. So if they just do that to get it out of their email box, then that's totally different. You have all the time in the world to have a great subject line. You can add awesome value to it. And a big part of it is training it over time. How many subscribers do you have on your newsletter?
I think 5,000.
Okay, that's great. So 5,000 is enough to get accurate data. To use MailChimp, SendMail, or, okay, so MailChimp, not my favorite, but it's fine. They were also first, and so whatever. So MailChimp is fine, and they should have plenty of data on you to have open rates. You should be able to build. Do you pay for automations, or is that something you got kicked out of?
I have anyways, long story, but yes, I'm paying, but I'm not getting my.
Okay, drip campaigns, automations, super awesome. Anytime that you have a new email subscriber, I would put them through a welcome flow. So I would say like have 5 to 7 emails that are you're like, these are the best emails in the world. If you're a teacher, if you're someone who buys my product for XYZ reason, you will get value out of these 10 different things. Put that in your welcome flow because that will train all of the new newsletter audiences that this is an email I'm keeping around because of how much value you added on the front end. And then on the back end, once you go from 5,000 to 50,000, the vast majority of those will have gone through this welcome flow. And so it'll actually be the biggest part of your email, 45,000 people. And then you'll be able to say, okay, my open rates with those 45,000 people are double what they were with the other ones. I went from 12% to 24% open rate. The click-throughs tripled and my sales increased by 15%. And so getting those numbers is a huge portion of an email. It's really wild. There's lots of information just with email and remarketing. However, I would say focus on adding as much value out of the gate and then being very careful of what you're putting in. Don't put 3 different buttons to click on and here's this cool image and logo and whatnot. Part of that's also personality. However, I would say more shy away from that, give value first, and then just have like, hey, by the way, if you want to sign up, I'm going to do this, and then every once in a while you say, hey, because you're in my newsletter, you get to share this specific promo code, and it's only if it's shared by someone who's in my newsletter, and that person is going to have 25% off for the first 6 months, or whatever is a good offer that they can't refuse. Does that make sense? Okay.
Subject lines are important too, right? Making
Subject lines are
sure that they know
really,
what they're
really
gonna
important
get
content.
in.
Yes, subject lines are really important. Subject lines is your ad header. So subject line is the difference between you drive past the billboard, again, just keep on bringing back billboards, it's a pain point. You're driving past the billboard and you don't even know that it's there. But then there's one that's like, oh, I know that billboard's there. I always look at it because it's just, my least favorite ones are the ones like, made you look, see, billboards work. And I'm like, oh my goodness, please stop. It just makes me, so billboards are awful, but they are very important to subject line, billboards, and ad headers, they're all the same. So you want to engage, you want to evoke emotion, and inside of your subject line, you want to have an offer that they can't refuse.
I am like him. I don't get a lot of emails, but there's a parenting email that I get and they give you free downloads. I always pick it up, it says free download. I download it. I may never use it, but
That's
I
awesome.
download it.
Yes.
I'm just curious, and I know this might be kind of broad, but what are some of the biggest impacts, on a website, what could lower or cause to lower your conversion rate?
SEO is a big piece. but it's also very fixable. There's some SEO things like minify your JavaScript code. I'm like, I'm not a programmer, I don't know how to do that. Who cares? But if you don't have a meta tag description, if your website loads super slowly, if you're using a 1080p HD background video on your main page and it's making your website take 20 seconds to load, get that out of there. I don't care how pretty it is. It's absolutely crushing your bounce rate and those types of things. But SEO is important. Color contrast is huge. It's literally, and you have more of an eye for design, so you'll be really good at this. If you take that question, what is the main thing? What's the one thing that I want people to do on the website? Then you make everything funnel to that. Okay, so if the one main thing, I want them to click this button that says sign up. If that's the one main thing I want them to do, make everything else blah and make that button hot pink or yellow or orange or red or whatever. If you want the one thing people to know is that you have, this is our customer that does the fast 3-day shipping. That's like their big thing. They literally have a banner at the top with little emojis of trucks on it. And it says 3-day shipping. And in their industry, people see that and they're like, there's no way that's real. A 10 option customizable product shipped to my door in 3 days. There's no way that's real. And so it's in a bright orange bar at the top. It's not like it doesn't take up half the page or whatever.
What that is?
Tell us who it is.
Yeah.
It's called Eclipse Holsters. Eclipse Holsters, they make customized Kydex holsters out of Virginia. They're actually a sister company with a manufacturing facility, and they are a ton of fun. They literally have like their social media, even if you're like, I hate guns, you're like, their social media is worth following.
I saw that with a paper company with like custom notepads.
Microsoft Paper
People- No, it's like a customized stationery that has
Oh.
everything on it. It works quickly, and they would put that same tactic up. We'll
Do the
give you
thing that
3
no one
days.
else is. Yeah, that's what they did. They're like, well, and actually the guy with the first thing, on his website used to say, he basically was like, this is gonna take as long as it takes. If it takes 3 weeks for me to build your product, that's how long it takes, okay? It's a hard process. And I was like, okay, maybe don't say that on the product page. You're basically telling people you don't want to order from me because you're never gonna get your product. And so those types of things, that was that industry though, like that custom holsters industry just operates that way. And so for our guys that were like 3 days, they're like, 3 days is gonna be on your doorstep. Hey, I don't care if we have to triple our shipping charges, it will be on your door in 3 days.
2 questions. One, should I cancel my billboard? 2, any advice on?
Not always bad, is all. Cancel your billboard, what was the other one?
I was good. The second one, any advice on creating a YouTube video? Length of time?
Yeah, I'll email you an optimized 30 to 90 second YouTube script where it said like you have to have a hook, you need an indirect introduction and call to action. I'll email that to you later. I feel like I have to promise that to everyone. If you want, like, I'll give you a business card, or I'll give you a business card, and that's for you. Yes, for an app specifically. Okay, really big thing about YouTube ads, real quick. Let's say 15 seconds. I know that we are 1 minute away from one. I'm also planning to stay here a little bit afterwards if people want to keep talking about stuff. So for YouTube advertising, if you have the coolest, most awesome video in the whole world, you're like, wow, videographer knocks it out of the park, acting on point. This is the best video ever. It probably sucks as a YouTube ad. YouTube is so specific. You have 5 seconds, and then most people, even good YouTube, I've seen good YouTube ads that more than half the people still skip at the end of 5 seconds. It's how it works. It's like open rates. Like my email open rate is 35%. Great. It's like, okay, good job. And depending on what the newsletter is, like that could be awesome. So on YouTube, it is so specific. You have to do something within 5 seconds. There's a 15-second window that you also want to have a very specific call to action. You want to upload them in. You want to take between 15, 30 seconds all the way through, if it's a 60-second ad, 90-second ad, you want to be able to have the validation piece. You want to have the story piece. You want to have all of these things in place in a YouTube ad in order for it to be effective. There's a very specific template that we follow. And sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes we have clients that they just send us a 30-second video and they're like, put this on YouTube. We're like, okay, great. It's not going to do well. They're like, we don't. We're like, okay, we did it. And guess what? It didn't do well. But then the ones that we sit down and we're like, hey, would you meet with our videographer? Yes, we will. And we sit down with the videographer and we're like, here's the outline. Here's exactly what we want you to do. Here's where we want the voice overlay to have the call to action. Here's where you insert B-roll footage. And then here's where you cut to the black and then have the call to action, at the end of the screen, blah, 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 the 90-second mark. We love that. We would love to add that extra value because we know that when we run that YouTube ad, it's going to make us look awesome. So like, wow, this did really well. It's like, yeah, right? Because we started from the beginning and said, we care about the top of funnel, middle funnel and bottom of funnel. Difference between good advertising and great advertising. Great question. What else?
Do we have any online?
Oh, online questions, cool. No, oh, you don't have any online?
We don't.
Okay, great, great. Any other questions for the people that care? I'm sorry. Anybody, all right, we can go ahead and wrap up. We're 1 minute
Awesome.
over, and so.
Yeah, that was great.
And I will be around if anyone else has. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I hope we thank Mark for bringing it.
Quick reminder, our next workshop is August 17th. That's the start of the story year. We will provide lunch for you guys that day. And that's gonna be 50 Mount Street, and it's a doggy treat company, and they use tomatoes for treat. So please join us, make sure to register, and if you don't follow us on social media, please do so today. Thank you, Mark.